Okay, so you want to own a wedding venue, a barn, a ballroom, maybe an old estate with good bones. Couples pay you tens of thousands of dollars to use your space for 6 hours. You don't cook the food, you don't take the photos, you just rent out the room. It sounds like the easiest math in the entire events industry. Here's the problem. That math only works about 5 months out of the year. And the other 7 months are exactly why so many of these businesses quietly go bankrupt while fully booked on Instagram. By the end of this, you'll know what it actually costs to open a wedding venue in America, why a fully booked Saturday doesn't mean you're profitable, and why one of the country's largest venue chains collapsed almost overnight while sitting on dozens of locations. Let's start with getting in the door, because at the low end, converting an existing barn, farm, or event space into a licensed wedding venue runs somewhere between $50,000 and $130,000, mostly a down payment or lease deposit, plus basic permitting. Build or renovate a proper full-service venue from the ground up, though, and you're looking at $300,000 to over $1.5 million once you add commercial kitchen infrastructure, parking, restrooms, HVAC for a room that needs to hold 150 sweating dancing people, and enough rental inventory, tables, chairs, linens, to avoid paying a rental company every single weekend. And then there's licensing, because depending on your state, you'll need a liquor license, a food service permit if you're doing any catering, in-house, an assembly occupancy certificate from the fire marshal, and in many counties, a special use permit just to legally host events on land that wasn't zoned for it. Miss the fire marshal's occupancy limit, and you don't get a warning on your wedding day. You get shut down mid-reception. So where does the money actually come from? The average American wedding venue rental runs somewhere between $7,000 and $13,000, though that number swings wildly. A barn in rural Ohio might charge $5,000, while a premium estate outside San Francisco or the Hamptons can clear $25,000 or more for a single Saturday. On top of the base rental, the smartest venues bundle in table and chair rentals, in-house catering with an exclusivity clause, bar packages, and a day of coordinator fee. Because the base rental is the loss leader that gets the couple in the door, and the packages are where the actual margin lives. But here's the number that decides everything, and it's Saturdays. In the United States, roughly 70% of all weddings happen on a Saturday, concentrated almost entirely between May and October. That means your entire annual revenue gets crammed into about 20 to 26 usable weekend dates a year. A Tuesday in February is worth close to nothing to you, and your mortgage, your insurance, and your staff don't care. Run the math the way an owner actually has to. Say your venue books 24 weddings a year at an average of $9,000 in venue rental alone. That's $216,000 in base revenue. Layer in catering, bar, and rental packages at a typical 30 to 60% gross margin, and total annual revenue for a mid-size venue lands somewhere between $150,000 and $500,000, with net profit margins commonly cited between 20 and 40% once the business is running smoothly. Sounds solid, until you remember that number has to cover 12 months of mortgage or lease payments, insurance, and a groundskeeper, generated almost entirely across 5 months of weekends. Which brings us to the real business hiding underneath the wedding business, the off-season. This is the twist that kills more wedding venues than bad reviews ever do. From November through April, in most of the country, outdoor and semi-outdoor venues in particular go almost dark. Smart operators fight this by chasing corporate retreats, holiday parties, and micro-weddings on off-peak weekdays at a steep discount. But plenty of owners open a venue purely on wedding season math. then discover every January that they still owe a full mortgage payment on a building that's hosting nothing. There's also a hidden cost that quietly wrecks margins even during a good season, and that's the minimum guest count. Most venues that bundle in catering write contracts around a minimum guest count and a minimum spend, say 100 guests at $150 per head, or $15,000, whichever is higher. That protects the venue's math on a big wedding. But it also means every Quiet Tuesday inquiry, every 40-person elopement, gets quoted a price that scares half your leads away, while every non-refundable deposit dispute after a cancellation becomes a legal and reputational risk in the same breath. And here's where this business actually breaks in the real world. Noah's Event Venue was, at its peak, one of the largest wedding venue chains in the country, 42 locations across 25 states. It looked exactly like proof that the wedding venue business could scale the way a restaurant chain scales. Open one, prove the model, open the next one, over and over. Instead, the company expanded into new cities faster than each individual location could reach profitability. Signed leases the growing chain couldn't sustainably support, and got tangled in a lawsuit from investors who'd put money into a planned location that was never even built. In May of 2019, Noah's filed for bankruptcy. By early 2020, a judge forced the company into full liquidation. Roughly 7,500 couples across the country who had already paid in full for their wedding day found out their venues simply didn't exist anymore, with almost no realistic path to getting their deposits back. The company's own founder later admitted the business had grown too fast to keep up with the market it was expanding into, chasing new locations before the earlier ones could stand on their own. That's the same trap that shows up in almost every version of this business, a company that grows unit count faster than unit economics can follow. A single wedding venue with steady bookings and a manageable lease can be a genuinely good small business. A chain of them, opened faster than each one can prove itself, is a countdown clock. So let's close the loop. You put up somewhere between $150,000 and over $1 million to open a proper wedding venue. In a strong year, booking 24 weddings across a 5-month season, plus solid catering and bar margins, you might clear $50,000 to $150,000 in profit. In a weak year, a slow wedding season, a rough economy pushing couples towards smaller weddings, a bad review that costs you a few bookings, that same fixed mortgage and insurance bill is still due every single month, whether anyone got married in your barn or not. So the next time you scroll past a beautifully lit wedding venue with a 5-star rating and a packed Saturday, understand what you're actually looking at. You're not looking at an easy business built on renting out an empty room. You're looking at 12 months of fixed costs, betting everything on 20 good Saturdays a year,